Had a very helpful further reflection and contributions, but if I might now try to bring things together and think in the front of our minds about the three important questions we have asked in this public hearing. And our first question has been to gain an understanding of your views of the risks of valproate in pregnancy. Many of our speakers have said these risks are understood, they're known, they're embedded in information, but I think we have all gained enormously and additionally from the insights that the families and carers and personal experiences that have been shared with us today. That adds a really important dimension to the, if you like, factual information that we have distilled up to now. And I think what's so important is that the views of the families, carers and those affected on the seriousness of the risks have been communicated to us very clearly, very powerfully. I think we've heard also from one speaker who is personally affected by having been exposed before she was born, and we're very grateful for her courage for speaking out, because we know that this hasn't been at all easy, and her wish to help us and to help others is truly tremendous. And we've just heard a comment, I'm trying to bring it all together, about risks in the male population for pregnancies exposed through father. So that's something we'll need to take away and think further about. Our second question has been asking for views on the measures currently in place to reduce the risks of valproate in pregnancy. And I think the committee has heard pretty much from every speaker that this could be improved. The information could get in the right way to the right person at the right time, which it doesn't seem to be universally so at the moment. And particularly, as well as communication and knowledge, we have to think about anything more that can further, if you like, affect change. I think one colleague said at the very beginning, are we going to finish this effort when so many people have worked so hard to come here today and then nothing changes? And I think we can have an affirmation here that that will not be the case. There's been things said today and material presented that means that that acceptance for question 2 is shared, that we can do better than the measures in place today. The measures in place today have been carefully thought through, well formulated, but their dissemination and their implementation and their acceptance and any change in practice that might result, we do not see. And that takes us to the third question. What other measures could be taken to reduce the risks of valproate during pregnancy? And that, I think, every PRAC member will agree with me, has been a tremendously fertile part of the hours we've spent together, because everyone has come with very important ideas and thoughts and suggestions, many of which have been made in a very altruistic way, knowing that those that make them will not stand personally to benefit from them. So perhaps I'll just say some of the ones I've noted so that you know that this is the sort of thing that we're going to be debating in our committee later this week and in coming meetings. Very strong support for clear and visible information on outer packaging. We've heard about memory issues. I think we all have memory issues. So visible reminders that are there and accessible are very, very important. And for a woman to receive a leaflet every time she has her dispensed medicine, accompanied by a conversation that perhaps asks, has she read it yet? Has she read it before? Has her situation changed? To remember about these risks. And we've heard a commitment from the European pharmacy profession to do everything in its power to help that to happen. We've heard about the utility of a special symbol, and admittedly it's not the first time we've heard about a logo or a pictogram or a diagram. We've had some very interesting evidence-based debates about the utility, the possibility for misunderstanding or not. But having heard what you've said today, colleagues from France and Belgium, it's time we revisited that. And it was why I asked Madame Martin, had she seen any impact? So let's think again and not dismiss anything that may help about a reminder about the harms in pregnancy. We've heard also about another important tool, which is alert prompts. We might call them red or amber or whatever they might be, red lights, in dispensing software that actually stimulate that conversation when a health professional is either prescribing or dispensing. And if there's best practice out there, we would profit from knowing about it. We've heard about the need for a regular review of a woman on long-term valproate. We've heard about the good practice that this is at least annual. We've heard that some women on long-term valproate in their childbearing years don't even get an annual review. We need to think about that. We've heard the word mandatory a lot of times, and we'll need to think carefully about what can be done through the regulatory tools that we have and what needs other approaches that would complement regulatory decisions. We've heard a very interesting idea about a register, and I think it was colleagues in Ireland that brought that forward so clearly, a register of all women on valproate, and an ability to keep good records that conversations have taken place and information has been given. And that's something really important, because in a busy health professional's life, how easy is it to remember when you last spoke to somebody and ran through the issues with them? Their situation may have changed. We heard a lot about professional education, and thankfully, particularly in recent couple of years in PRAC, we've been getting proficient with e-learning modules and understanding how health professionals like to learn, like to be refreshed, like to train. And there's a very important initiative, I think, of academic detail in Norway that might be very close to some of the ideas we've heard. I think more than anything, we've heard a strong call for the coordination of health professionals to give bespoke advice. There isn't a one-size-fits-all for every woman in her childbearing years on valproate. So how that can be achieved when we have a one-size-fits-all regulatory system is quite a challenge, but it's something that we can reflect on around contraception needs and family planning. We've heard about a call for public awareness, and only the other day I was hearing about the interesting options the European Commission has occasionally at its disposal for public awareness. So there are tools there at the right time when decisions are being made at the completion of the referral for us to think about that. There are some contentious issues that have been raised around informed consent, and I think that needs thinking further about in terms of what has been asked for from a legal point of view. So in among all the proposals and suggestions, there may be some that are rather readily and more straightforward to introduce, but there may be others that are rather contentious. I think what we can say just now is that everything that's been said, everything that has been offered and contributed today is going to be reflected on by this committee very carefully indeed. We know what it has taken in terms of your effort and your preparation to come to us today, so well prepared to help us. As I've mentioned, there will be a report in about 2 weeks' time, 2 weeks or so, that will just distill the areas we've discussed. PRAC itself has more scientific discussions in the next month or so, and so please don't expect any regulatory decisions or regulatory action for another several months, probably 2 to 3 months minimum. Can't be definitive about that today. It depends how our next scientific discussions progress. We need to get this right. But in conclusion, I know I speak for every member of PRAC and for the European Medicines Agency colleagues when I reaffirm that every view has been valuable. We are very grateful indeed to everyone who's given up their usual work, their usual duties to come and help us. And we know that your goal, which is to ensure that those who've used valproate, who are using it and who will be treated with it in the future, their care is informed by the best possible risk minimisation. And so, to minimise risks now and into the future, we have a common goal with everyone who's attended today. Dr. Garcia-Burgos, is there anything you would like to add from the EMA point of view?
Thank you, Dr. Raine. Just very briefly to update, the recording which has been made of this hearing will remain available at any time for anyone who wants to access this. We will keep everyone who has participated in this hearing informed of the outcome of the regulatory decision. So when it comes and it's made publicly available, we will inform you timely. And as you know, this is the first time we are holding a hearing like this. So we need to learn from the experience. And I think what is now very valuable, in addition to what you already has given today, is your experience and your feedback about how the whole hearing has been organized and conducted. So we will be coming back to you with a questionnaire, but we appreciate very much if you can fill it in and give us your experience. So from our side, on behalf of EMA, just to thank you again for all the contribution, and June.
And last, I would really like to ask Mrs. McAvan from the European Parliament, who has done so much to open up regulation and safety to the citizens of the EU, to close the public hearing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you to everybody who's taken part. I think I've learned a lot about valproate, but I've also learned, I think, that there is a lot of value in bringing everyone together face to face to share these experiences, to listen to each other, to hear from the pharmacists, from the doctors, from the regulators, and I'm very pleased to hear that the PRAC will go away now, distill all this information, and come up with a plan for the future to improve patient safety. So I think I will go back to my colleagues and say I think it was right that we push for public hearings, and I will look forward to hearing the feedback which you have, if they can be improved in any way. But I think it's been from my point of view, it seems to have been a positive experience, and I hope it will lead to better regulation in the future.